Hello and welcome to the Pitchside podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast and all the content on the channel. Of course, follow us on social media and beside PSP on Twitter, Pitchside on Instagram, and listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. Welcome to episode 140 and another weekend preview. You're welcome. But before the weekend preview and before even talking about the Europa League Semi-finals, there's of course a big, development in the league that should be talked about. Barcelona played Granada in a game that they had in hand, of course, yesterday, and the result is absolutely shocking. Barcelona lost to Granada 2-1, and Granada actually turned things around to defeat Barcelona 2-1. This was a mind-boggling game. The way that Barcelona lost it, Barcelona dominated the ball completely. They had 81% of possession. Literally, Granada had 2 shots on target the whole game, and they scored them. This was ridiculous. It absolutely, tests your intelligence kind of thing. Barcelona completely dominated the first half. They had the opportunities to kill the game, really. They couldn't. Messi missed a couple of opportunities there. And of course, the individual mistakes in the back for Barcelona creeped in once again, and they were costly this time. 2 errors of covering, really. The bad positioning for the defenders was costly for Barcelona on 2 occasions. Of course, the only 2 occasions that Granada had any chances in the game, realistically speaking. But when you have Gerard Piqué and Umtiti in the starting lineup as your 2 centre-halves, you really cannot expect anything else, to be fair. That's what you should expect. Aside from that, I think there's nothing really to talk about in this game. Barcelona dominated and Granada won. That is a simple story of it. Simply, it's not the right time to lose to Barcelona. They're giving Atletico the advantage in the title race, where as Barcelona could have been top of the table had they won the game against Granada, and realistically speaking, they could have given themselves a jolt in this title race. It's not a new thing that Barcelona lose at home this season, or lose completely. They lost to Juventus in the Champions League at home, they lost to PSG in the Champions League at home, they lost to Real Madrid in El Clasico at home, they dropped points to Cadiz at home. It is nothing new, really, so it doesn't fill the fans with the biggest of hope leading into some of the biggest fixtures ahead, which is of course talking about the Atletico Madrid game a couple of weeks later, or next week really. So it will be really worrying for Barcelona to see how they will be dealing with that. Obviously, Ronald Koeman was sent off, so that might affect the way they dealt with the game. The lack of instructions maybe, who knows. But realistically speaking, you expect a side like Barcelona to beat a side like Granada, and with the statistics of the game, you expect it to be quite a comfortable story. This result keeps Barcelona now with 71 points behind Atletico Madrid on goal difference and on head-to-head competition, most importantly, behind Real Madrid, now on 33 games, all of them. The 4 top teams in Spain are on 33 games. The league title race is absolutely on fire at the moment, and the next couple of weeks are going to be very, very decisive in terms of who's going to win the trophy. But of course, Barcelona now, again, this is the wrong time to lose, and this was a slip at absolutely the unwanted. Turning our attention from that to the Europa League Semi-final, took place yesterday, the first legs, of course, of those, and there was 2 completely different, games in those semi-finals. The first, of course, Manchester United completely smashing 6-2 past AS Roma. This was a game that was mostly one-sided. Roma had a good spell in the first half, to be fair, but definitely it came down to basically horrendous defending from them. Not to say that United's defense were better, but realistically speaking, Roma's defense was worse. We talked about that. The defending is really horrible. Defensively, they've been having some shockers as of late. And certainly now they proved it against Roma here, having another shocker. The first half was decent. Despite losing a very bad first goal, really, to Manchester United, the way that they were marking and they were sort of, positioning themselves, the defenders of AS Roma, was completely all over the place. There was nothing really good about it. But somehow they managed to get themselves back into the game, score 2 goals thanks to Edin Dzeko and Lorenzo Pellegrini. Even the action leading to a penalty, portrayed a bad defending from United themselves, so it wasn't as if United were much solid than Roma. But then, of course, the second half completely overturned things around with Cavani coming in. It was, it was a brilliant second half for him and for Manchester United. You look at all the goals, really. I mean, 5 out of 6, even the action leading to the penalty, really. The positioning was absolutely horrendous from Roma's centre-halves. They were all over the place. I mean, particularly Chris Smalling. I mean, I don't know. He must be thinking he's playing with United still. He might have flashbacks when he came to Old Trafford. But seriously, this was a bad defending from Roma. And certainly, Man United were not perfect at defending, but it came down to the fact that their defence was slightly better than Roma's, which was horrendous, and they smashed 6-2 past them. And now they have absolutely all the advantage in the world leading into the second leg. There's no chance really that Roma comes back with a 4-0 win. It's almost impossible, and let alone coming up with the win in the first place without conceding away from at home in Rome. It doesn't look really good for them. Man United, I think, pretty much booked their place in the final, in my opinion. The other semi-final, of course, a team which, still pretty much well poised. Villareal defeated Arsenal 2-1. This was much cagier, I think, than what the other game was. And Arsenal, for some reason, started for their false striker. I know that Pep Guardiola, loves to do that, and that Arteta was the assistant coach in Man City, some of that. But seriously, Arsenal were barely functioning with the striker. They really barely score and barely create 5 or 6 chances with Aubameyang and Lacazette and those guys on. So imagine how castrated, how not functioning Arsenal were with no striker anymore, with Nicolas Pepe playing as a shadow striker, not exactly knowing where to press, whether to play behind the centre halves or to play, with the fullbacks. And when you play with no striker and you don't have enough dynamic players and dynamic movement around it, you will not create anything, and that's what happened. Villareal dominated the game for about 60 to 70 minutes, got what they wanted from it. They scored the 2 goals, and they completely toyed with Arsenal for 70 minutes, but still went back and defended. I mean, the only mistake really I would say from Villareal is that they went back and defended for the last 20 minutes or so, particularly after the red card for Dani Ceballos, which I thought it was pretty harsh, I would say. Villareal themselves got a red card too, but it came down to the fact that, they already got the game secured. Arsenal, the only thing I think positive from the game is the fact that they got the penalty, they scored the goal that would give them a lifeline in the next game in the second leg, but definitely there was a lack of creativity, there was a lack of initiative, no efficiency whatsoever from Arsenal. Maybe the good thing that they were pretty quick whenever they had the ball and went forward, they were pretty quick, so there's no space really for Villareal, so that might be an advantage. In the second leg, when they potentially start with their proper strikers, they start with Lacazette, maybe Aubameyang is better and improved after his bout with malaria and returns to full fitness maybe, and maybe gets some minutes. I'm not exactly expecting him to start, but maybe getting some minutes over the course of the 90 minutes in the second leg. Still pretty poised there for the second leg, but definitely we'll see who's going to be facing Man United in the final out of those. I'm still standing with Villareal. I think, again, they're a much poised team, and maybe I really trust them to defend well enough and still sting Arsenal on the counters to go through to the final of the Europa League. Let's move on now to the proper weekend preview, and let's talk about the Premier League. Of course, it's a crucial week in the Premier League, and particularly for one match in particular that would sort of shape how the top 4 might be, and for one particular team, to be fair, that is going to be shaping how the how the top 4 is going to be defined. Of course, the week starts on Friday in the Premier League. Of course, it starts with Leicester City going away to Southampton. Crystal Palace goes to Manchester City, or hosts Manchester City on Saturday. Brighton and Hove Albion host Leeds United. Chelsea host Fulham, of course, with all eyes on the second leg of the Champions League semi-final. They host Fulham, looking to potentially get an easy victory. Of course, there's going to be maybe a rotation of the squad for Tommy Tuchel after the semi-final of the Champions League, looking for another one and hopefully getting the win with the most minimum of effort without exhausting themselves. Maybe not getting injuries as well would be good. Everton host Aston Villa. They're still in the battle a little bit. Everton, if they win, they might give themselves a little bit of a chance. Newcastle United on Sunday host Arsenal, of course, a game that pretty much doesn't have any meaning whatsoever. You could not see Arsenal getting in the top four, realistically speaking. And, Newcastle United just trying to save themselves at the bottom of the table, trying to get away from the relegation scrap. Manchester United, of course, versus Liverpool is the bigger of the games in the Premier League this weekend. Tottenham versus Sheffield United, that is on Sunday as well. West Brom versus Wolves on Monday, and Burnley host another top four hopeful in West Ham United, that is on Monday as well. So obviously the biggest game of the lot is definitely Manchester United versus Liverpool. There's simply no two ways about it. There's no discussion which is the biggest game, and looking at the lay of things, I mean, what a difference 3 months make. This game was, almost about who's going to be closer to winning the title in January, whereas now it looks like it is Liverpool's last chance maybe to get into the top four, really. The running that Liverpool have, by the way, looked easy on paper. Like, they had Newcastle before this game, then they had Southampton, then they have West Brom away from home, then they would have Burnley away from home, and then they finish by facing Crystal Palace. So the running they have Liverpool this season, the rest of the games, it looked easy. So was the Newcastle game, but they drawn against Newcastle. They lost 2 points against Newcastle that would, hold them back in their hopes to be in the top four. They're not far. The results between Chelsea and West Ham in particular gave them a couple of points maybe to advantage. Maybe they'll get into the top 5, they'll get into the 5th spot. But I really don't see Liverpool getting into the top 4. I don't know why, but I have a strong feeling that this is going to be the kind of title defense that Liverpool would not want to happen. And it will affect certainly a lot of things in Liverpool. The coach, maybe the players, who's going to be leaving, who's not. It's going to be a mess when that happens, if it happens. For Manchester United, flying high, completely, in a good form, winning their games, going to the final of the Europa League. They have no problems whatsoever. The draw against Leeds United was pretty much a anomaly more than anything else. They were winning all of their games. Aside from the FA Cup loss to Leicester City, that is, they're really on a good form. Obviously, they're going to be finishing the league at 7th, at 2nd, it looks. And of course, as close as they are to Man City, they're still pretty far. 10 points is not that far, but still, it might count as a bad season when you consider that this form could have been replicated in the early goings of the season, and they could have had a closer chance to beat Man City in the race and to get closer to them and to compete for the title. But again, the focus is not on United anymore in this one. The more important thing is that Liverpool get the result, in my opinion. The focus is on Liverpool, of course. They are the ones, I think, demanded of a result, really. They're the ones in the hunt of a result to keep themselves in the spots and to keep themselves in the hopes of the top 4, because their dreams could really be dashed in this week. Man United feel like the better team, obviously. I don't think we can debate it. It's again a different sort of circumstance now to what was happening on January 17th when the game was played at Anfield and when that game was, pretty boring for the most part. This is going to be anything but boring because Liverpool, again, in need of a result. Like, they will not... This is going to be a double-edged sword, and a double-edged sword in the bad way for Liverpool, because they are in need of a result because they need the game in the top 4, and if they lose this game, they're not going to be just losing advantage in the top 4 battle, but also they're going to be losing against Manchester United, the eternal English rival, in the England derby, and that's going to sting a lot, because that is going to be probably, aside from the fact that it's going to be material for trolls for seasons and for years to come, this is going to be definitely one of those moments that the Liverpool fans would try and forget. We're going from winning the title to having a horrendous season riddled with injuries, riddled with problems, and, ending outside of the Champions League spots and outside of the top 4. And this is a team that was supposedly going to be in the Super League, so imagine how that's going to go down with some other fans, not exactly United fans, who were involved in the situation, but who their team, that is, was involved in the situation. But imagine also the fact that, the other clubs, the likes of Everton, who were strongly opposed to that, Aston Villa, Wolves, those teams, Leeds United, how they're going to be trolling them for days, and how they will see it as a sort of something that should have happened anyway. Again, Liverpool in need for a victory. They absolutely live or die, I think, on the result. Their dreams depend on the game against Manchester United. They will go for it. And thus, I have a really bold prediction to make. Man United are going to be smashing them. And United, they will play their perfect game, I think, against Liverpool, who are in hunt of a result. They will sit back, play on the counter, and they will sting them completely. Bruno Fernandes is on fire at the moment. Pogba is getting to his right form. You have Cavani getting into his right form. You have Rashford and Greenwood, being involved. This is going to be a hard watch for some Liverpool fans. I warn you, this is going to be hard to watch at certain points. I predict United to win, and I predicted them really to kill the dreams of Liverpool pretty much dead in the water after this game. So hopefully we'll see how this game is going to go, and for the rest of the games, of course, the other results, particularly I think Chelsea's game against Fulham, West Ham game against Burnley, and Leicester City's game against Southampton tonight might define how the top 4 is going to be shaped as well in the Premier League. From a league where the title race is pretty much done and dusted and just waiting for the clinical kill, to another league where the title race is simply on fire. Four teams are involved in Laliga's title race this season. Of course, all of them are the top 4. Basically, the Champions League teams are fighting for the title, which is quite nice for a change. And of course, again, after the big shocker, I think, of Barcelona on Thursday, this round is, I think, made 10 times more important because all of the games that the top 4 have seem like easy ones. Let's not play it down. First of all, the fixtures list is going to be like that. Celta Vigo host Levante on Friday. Eibar versus Deportivo Alaves to kick things off on Saturday. Elche host Atletico Madrid. Huesca host Real Sociedad. Real Madrid play Osasuna. Valladolid play Real Betis. Villareal play Getafe. Granada play Cadiz on Sunday. Valencia play Barcelona. And Sevilla play Athletic Bilbao on Monday. So the 4 games for the top 4 clubs who play for the title seem easy, or look easy at least. But in the same token, Barcelona lost against Granada on Thursday, so what is the guarantee that they don't lose against Valencia away? And what is the guarantee that Real Madrid don't lose to Osasuna, or Atletico lose to Elche, or Sevilla drop points to Bilbao? As much as this week feels like a buffer, really, sort of a checkpoint that they need to get through before the crucial round, of course, next week. This is going to be, all the focus is going to be maybe on Spain next week, with a crucial week that Barcelona hosts Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid hosts Sevilla, and I really don't need to tell you that these games are going to be defining how the title race is going to be looking. So after the result for Barcelona against Granada, I really don't see any kind of guarantee to how the top 4 cannot lose their games, and in particular I think Real Madrid and Sevilla are really, sort of risking that in a big way, in a bigger way than the other two. Real Madrid, because they play in the Champions League, they have the semi-final second leg to think about, so that might really play with their minds. And with the situation of the lineup at the moment, the squad, Carvajal is injured, of course, and his season is reportedly over after the injury he had in the first leg of the semi-final. He just returned from injury, and now he's back to the treatment table. May he be well soon. For Atletico Madrid, again, they just found their stride after a couple of results that were really, really bad. This is the final hurdle, the final turn in the league. They should be having enough in them to really win. So let's look at the run-up, by the way, those teams have, and let's exclude this round, and let's exclude the next round where they face each other. Of course, where Barcelona face Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid face Sevilla. So in round 36, Atletico Madrid are going to be facing are going to be facing Real Sociedad at home. Real Madrid will be facing Granada away. Barcelona are going to be are going to be travelling to face Levante away in Ciudad de Valencia, and you have Sevilla facing Valencia at home. Then you have Atletico Bilbao hosting Real Madrid in round 37, Atletico Madrid hosting Osasuna, Barcelona playing Celta Vigo, and then you have, of course, Sevilla playing Villareal away from home, and then, of course, the last round with Atletico Madrid playing Valladolid away, Barcelona playing Eibar away, Real Madrid playing Villareal at home. That is going to be a pretty tough game as well, and Sevilla playing Deportivo Alaves. So out of those 4 games left, there's 3 game weeks left after the next week. It will be probably Sevilla with the toughest run in, Barcelona with a tricky one, Atletico Madrid potentially in easy ones, Real Madrid, here and there. But certainly all of the teams now cannot afford to lose. I mean, we say that almost every week about La Liga, but certainly now, before a crucial week where everything is going to be decided, you just cannot afford to lose. You simply cannot afford to drop points, because you drop points, the gap is widening at the top and you lose your chance. I really have a weird feeling that Sevilla are going to be making a late run in. I mean, yes, 3 points that are behind Atletico Madrid. It's not that big of a gap, but I feel like people are not talking about them in the same vein as Barcelona, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, maybe because they arrived late. And I don't think they arrived late as much as Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid and Barcelona helped them to arrive late, because at a certain point Sevilla was 7 and 10 and 11 points behind Atletico Madrid, and there was no chance in hell that Sevilla would run in for the title. But as the weeks drew closer, and as Atletico Madrid started bleeding points, and Real Madrid started bleeding points, and now Barcelona started bleeding points, losing in El Clasico, and now losing to Granada yesterday, it looks like, Sevilla gave in the shot in the arm that they needed. And they might end up winning the title altogether, and I really feel like they might be doing that just yet. It is unknown now what's going to be happening in La Liga. It is absolutely unpredictable, and that is why it's good. And it's not the best title race of the season, because I think the League A title race is quite good as well. But definitely, this one has all the drama and the intensity enough in it, with Real Madrid focusing on the Champions League and how this is going to be a crucial side to that title race, with Barcelona and Atletico Madrid free, and Sevilla as well free from this kind of pressure. So we'll see how things are going to be panning out in this week ahead of course, the crucial week, the Armageddon, what it feels, of the Premier League, where again Barcelona face Atletico and Real Madrid face Sevilla to define potentially where La Liga title is going to be going. Finishing off not by Serie A or the Bundesliga though, there's no Bundesliga this week, of course. There is only the DFB-Pokal semi-final, and Serie A kicks off on Saturday, so we're going to be leaving that to the Saturday episode with the magazine, of course, before talking about elsewhere in the magazine episode. And we're going to go to Germany, as this weekend it will be the semi-final of the DFB-Pokal. And realistically speaking, I think the focus on this one is on Dortmund and Leipzig. You think of those two. For Leipzig, of course, it's a chance to win silverware with the announcement of Julian Nagelsmann officially going to Bayern. Expect that to be one of the topics of the magazine episodes tomorrow. So, with RB Leipzig manager, Julian Nagelsmann going to Bayern Munich next season, this might be the chance to have some silverware, have some souvenir silverware for Julian Nagelsmann before he leaves the club. He was successful, but I think a silverware would sort of cement his success with Leipzig this season. They were the closest that they ever been to take Bayern Munich's mantra of Bundesliga domination. They fall in the final hurdle, so that is quite predictable and expected, really. But also, they are a really, really good team. They improved leaps and bounds upon coming on from the second division, from getting up the tiers of the Bundesliga and coming back to the Champions League and making it to the semi-final of the Champions League last season and developing as they do so. It's really a big chance. I really see them as favourites to win the trophy, favourites to win the DFB-Pokal. Despite the fact that there is Borussia Dortmund on the other semi-final, with facing the team that eliminated Bayern, Holstein Kiel, in this could be a potentially very, very tricky situation for Borussia Dortmund, who of course have the focus on the top 4 battle in the Bundesliga, while also having to maybe want the chance to win a trophy as well against a team that surprised Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen in this competition by eliminating them both from the previous rounds. So certainly, I feel like RB Leipzig are the most favourites to do this. They are the most favourites to win, and they have it in them, I would say, to make it past Werder Bremen, to go through to the final, to win a trophy again, to cement themselves, and as a sort of a good memory for Julian Nagelsmann before leaving Leipzig, because the next time they're going to be facing Bayern Munich, Julian Nagelsmann is going to be on the other dugout, and he's going to be the coach of Bayern, and he's going to be playing with the other side in the Super Cup the next season. So definitely, a semi-final is I mean, if they reach the final, that is, and win the trophy, they'll play in the Super Cup, of course, and they will face Julian Nagelsmann being on the other dugout. Of course, the move to RB Leipzig certainly, is going to be big enough, to justify a complete change in the shape for them. Maybe next season you'll see what the decision is going to be made with Upamecano as well going. How's going to be their recruitment system and all of that, but still the weeks are ahead of us, and we can talk about that down the line. Before the moment, in my opinion, Leipzig are favourites to win this, and it's going to be a very good end to the very good season that they have. Probably their best season domestically in the last couple of seasons for them. They were competing with Bayern at certain points, but now, I mean, they have a chance to win a silverware, and again, they will not miss it in my opinion. The other semi-final, of course, being Borussia Dortmund versus Holstein Kiel, a potentially tricky one for Borussia Dortmund and for Edin Terzic boy, and soon to be Marco Rosa's boys next season against a team that was a surprise of the competition. That's it from me for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media, site PSP Android app, SetPod on Instagram, and listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform. And until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Wait for us in the magazine episode tomorrow, and also the draw for the quarterfinals of the Champions League in Africa is going to be made today, so expect a video about that tomorrow, and an episode, of course, an African episode later down the line before the quarterfinals. That's it from me. Until next time, goodbye.